Hey guys, welcome back to tacNtrack. I'm Brad, and today we are going to be talking about the FN PS90, one of my favorite all-time guns. Absolutely fantastic rifle, and probably the best rifle we'll ever talk about here on tacNtrack that you shouldn't buy. Let's hop into it. Alright, so before we get too deep into this, let's talk about why the PS90 exists. So, this was originally designed as a PDW, a personal defense weapon to be given to NATO troops, guys like truck drivers, tank commanders, that kind of stuff that was small, light, and compact. Now, if we're looking at a P90 that would have seen service, with NATO, we would be talking about a shorter barreled version and select fire capable. The PS90s that we see here in the United States all come with this little bit longer barrel, but still is a very, very compact platform. This was specifically designed to deal with Russian body armor and was designed to give someone like a tank commander or somebody driving an APC the ability to engage a target at 200 meters and be able to defeat their armor while still being light enough and compact enough to where it didn't interfere with their day-to-day, more important job. Now, this PDW concept is something that we're familiar with. If you guys watched the video on this little guy, the M1 carbine, this is the same philosophy as what we got with this little M1 carbine, just in a much more modern platform. Speaking of modern, this is a rifle that was designed for people who don't normally shoot rifles. And it really shows in the design. And we'll talk a little bit about the controls in just a minute. So we always cover 5 categories here on tacNtrack. The first of which is always value. So let's talk a little bit about what one of these guys costs to buy, as well as what does it cost to run it, because that's going to be important. So when we look at value, we don't always look at the original buy-in expense. We talk about overall value hold and cost of ownership, as well as what it originally cost up front. So upfront expense on one of these guys is going to run somewhere between $1,900 and $2,600. That's a lot of money, but it's not unobtainable. It's going to be something that you're going to think a lot about before you break down and spend the money on it. You're probably going to watch a lot of videos here on YouTube about it. But if you're considering it, you need to look at the price of 5.7 by 28 ammunition. This thing is an absolute blast to shoot, but 5.7 by 28 is not a cheap ammunition. So I was actually at my local indoor shooting range with this probably about 2 years ago. And somebody stopped me as I was walking by and they go, is that a PS90? I go, yes. And he goes, man, we sell those things all the time, but I've never seen somebody actually shoot one. There's a reason for that, and it is the price of the ammunition. They're a blast to shoot. They're loads of fun. But we were shooting a video about 2 months ago, so we decided to go to the local gun show and grab some ammunition real fast because we needed some more because I was running fairly low on it. We paid $100 for a box of 50. That's $2 a round. That's incredibly expensive. Now, some of the accessories for these guys, relatively inexpensive. It's been a while, but these 50 round clear magazines with this kind of weird unique elevator system in it, I bought some of those a while back, $20 a piece, and they run great. So magazines aren't expensive. The gun's fairly expensive up front, but it's the ammunition that'll really kill you. So we're gonna have some can destruction, and we're gonna see if a P90 will punch a can. I think that about takes care of all of our available targets.
I'd say it'll punch a can. It'll punch a can.
So, now that we've talked about value, let's talk a little bit about fun factor with these guys. These guys are incredibly fun to shoot. They are a bullpup style design, but they have a few features that you don't typically find on bullpups. First of which, and most important of which for me in particular, as a left-eye dominant right-handed shooter, is they're fully ambidextrous. And so with a bullpup, you typically have the rounds ejecting somewhere out of the side or top of the rifle. If you're left-handed or right-handed and want to shoot it with the other hand, this is going to be a problem for you. Bullpups typically are shot with whatever hand the rifle is built for and no other. The really cool thing about the PS90 and P90 platforms is they actually eject right here out of the bottom of the rifle. They also have a charging handle that is on both sides of the gun, so it can be used with either hand, and an ambidextrous safety. For somebody like me who is left-eye dominant right-handed, this is the ideal setup, and this is one of the few bullpups that I can actually use. So that's a really nice setup thing to have. The other thing, these are a blast to take new shooters to the range with, which kind of seems counterintuitive to a lot of people who haven't shot these, because they are so different than most other firearms. But these things have absolutely no recoil. Its 50 round capacity is good. It's got no recoil. And for those of us who've shot a lot of other guns like ARs and AKs and whatnot, this gun seems a little bit awkward to try and use. If you've never shot a gun, this gun is incredibly intuitive to use. This is actually one of those things that I love to give first-time shooters, because they pick it up and they know exactly how to hold it and where to put it and how to work it. It's those of us who have used other platforms for an extended period of time that struggle with this setup because it's different. One of the things I always say about the P90s is this was designed by the most brilliant human being who's never seen a gun before. It works great. Everything's set up great. Everything works fantastic, but it's alien to the way we typically set up a rifle.
I can hold it still enough and the red dot is on it, that target's gone. But we've been doing this for a while and I hadn't had lunch. So it's my excuse.
So if you're seriously considering a P90, you may be asking, well, is it accurate? Well, to answer that question, we really need to talk about what accuracy expectations you should have for this rifle. Remember, this is a PDW. This isn't a designated marksman rifle like the PSL behind me. This is intended for sub 200 meter engagements. At that range, this is a phenomenal rifle. It is absolutely fantastic at what it was designed to do, which is punch holes in Russian paratrooper body armor at 200 yards or less. In that kind of aspect, this rifle is great. It is extremely accurate, especially in that 150 yard or meter zone minus. It's very, very good. You won't have any problems picking this up, dropping 50 rounds on target, no issues whatsoever. If you're looking for the kind of accuracy to engage a target at 500, 600, 700, 800 yards, this is not the rifle, okay? This is not what this is designed for. This is a fancy pistol caliber carbine, right? This is a replacement for a handgun. This isn't a replacement for a PSL or an AR-10 or any of those designated marksman style rifles. It's not what this guy's for. So is it accurate? Well, as long as your expectations are sub 200 yard or sub 200 meter gun, yes, it's incredibly accurate. For a PDW, it's incredibly accurate. Is it accurate for a designated marksman rifle? Of course not. That's not what this guy is. But as long as you're expecting it to fall into that PDW category, very, very accurate, especially with the little bit longer barrel setup that we find on the PS90s over the P90s. That's one of the reasons I haven't SBR'd this gun, is because the accuracy level that I'm able to get out of this 16.1 inch barrel here is so good. And the rifle's fairly compact in its platform right here, and it makes me not want to put a tax stamp on this and make it a short barrel rifle.
Oh, it's not stable. Got it.
Works like a handgun.
Yeah, it does.
Woo. So let's talk about fun factor. Is it fun to use? Absolutely a blast. It really doesn't get any better than this as far as a fun gun to use, as long as someone else is paying for the ammunition. I mean, absolute blast. Very accurate, very fun. The 50 round magazines are fun. And the way that these magazines are set up with this top release, the pull out, anytime you get to slap a gun to make it work right, makes them a blast to shoot. It's true with the HKs, it's true with the FNs. Really, really fun to use. Great firearm. Sometimes you gotta slap it a little bit harder. But, yeah. Blast to take to the range. Blast for other people to shoot. Just know how expensive the ammunition are for them.
Red dot dead. Built-in factory iron sights get the job done.
So, ease of use. If you've never shot a gun before, these are incredibly easy to use. They're a little bit different for those of us who spent a lot of trigger time behind more conventional guns. They feel a little bit alien to us. That's not to say that they're hard to use. It's just a little bit of a learning curve to unlearn some of the habits that you have inherently built into a gun. If you've never owned an AR and you're looking for your first gun and money is not a problem, this is a great pick for that. If you've been using something like an AR based platform, just know there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for you. If you're looking for a gun for your wife who hasn't shot very much, this is the absolute best firearm you can pick. Low recoil, lots of fun to shoot, very intuitive, absolutely great gun for that. I'm not the only person I know who has handed this to their wife and them just fallen in love with it. Now, once again, women always like expensive things.
Bet you won't hit it.
So, as just a recap, is it accurate? Sub 200 yards? Most definitely. Is it fun to shoot? Absolutely. Is it easy to use? For those of us who haven't used firearms in the past, it is probably the easiest gun out there to use. For those of us who are coming off a platform like an AR, It's got a little bit of a learning curve, but it is inherently easy. You'll pick it up soon enough. So, accurate, fun, easy to use, expensive. It is expensive to buy up front. It is expensive to run. That's really the deal killer here. So if you're calling and you're asking, should I buy one of these? First question that I'm going to ask is, can you afford one? If the answer is yes, well, maybe consider something like this. So this is a registered short barrel AR with optics on it and a suppressor. You can have a setup like this, silenced, adjustable gas system, good trigger, if it's legal in your area, for about the same price that you can have the P90. And I'd just like to put these next to each other right here so you can kind of see this. They're roughly the same size between the two, and they roughly cost the same amount of money. Now, the downside to something like this is, of course, you have 2 tax stamps to make this work, so you pay $400 to the government for your tax stamps to get all this done, and you have a little bit of a wait time. I really think this, for most people, is going to be a better setup and a better platform than the P90. If you live in an area where you can't have things like short barrel rifles and suppressors, well, then the P90 becomes much more attractive again, and I think it's a good value at that point in time. But if you live in an area and you're willing to go through the process of getting something like a suppressed short barrel AR rifle, I think that's a much better value and a much better purchase decision than this. But this guy is an absolute blast. And if money's not a problem, go pick you one up. Trust me, you won't regret it. If you want a better idea than you going to go pick one up, talk one of your buddies into it. Much better option. Thanks for checking us out on tacNtrack. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much. We'll catch you next time, guys.
Woo! That is a bad girl. Bet you won't hit it.
Very, very, very accurate. Very ergonomic. Ambidextrous. So me as a lefty, I can use it. You've got charging handles on both sides. You've got a safety that's accessible from both sides. And the rounds dump actually out of the bottom of the gun right here. One thing you do just have to get a little bit used to if you've never shot one of these, it's not a giant deal, but they're going to come out and they're going to hit you, right? So you got to be just aware that that's going to happen. It's not a big deal. It doesn't hurt. They're not hot. It's no problem. But if you're not used to them dumping out right here, it will throw you for a little bit of a loop. Excellent, excellent firearms, though.